Welcome to Grimm's Frightmares. I'm your host, Jess. How far would you go to make sure you always look your best? Many of us enjoy taking some extra time on our appearance because we like how it makes us feel. It's empowering. But what happens when that desire to feel empowered or confident goes a little too far? What happens when the aim for perfection leads us to do something desperate? Tonight's story comes from the No Sleep board on Reddit, shared by Redditor Ia. Like all great stories, it's a cautionary of what happens when obsession overtakes common sense. A lesson our victim learns all too well when she gets waxed. My trouble started when I realized I was out of razor blades and waxing supplies, and my crotch looked like the Amazon rainforest before the mechanization of the logging industry. My date was due to arrive in half an hour, so I resorted to something unconventional, something I now realize was not the best idea. I'm going to give you a little backstory first. I'm not ashamed to say I enjoy sex. The widespread belief that a woman should suppress her sex drive because society finds it improper has always disgusted me. Sex is great. Safe sex is wonderful. I respect myself, and I respect the men I sleep with. All I ask is that I receive the same respect in return. It's just two people making each other happy. Now, I've known this since I was 15. 2 decades of positive experiences have only strengthened my feelings on the subject. That said, there are a few personal responsibilities I feel I have, such as keeping current with the shaving trends. I'm not a huge fan of the concept behind shaving myself, to be honest. If you think about it, it's actually kind of creepy, but I'll still admit I enjoy the sensation of hairlessness. I guess it's a trade-off. I prefer to shave, but I've waxed myself a lot too. I have to be careful though because I'm allergic to some of the waxes on the market. I don't know what particular chemical or fragrance it is that causes the irritation, but the itchy rash it produces keeps the downstairs out of business for over a week while it clears up. No one wants to pull off a thong and see that staring them in the face. So, back to the other day. I found something in the apartment I thought would work like wax, so I tried it out. It hurt like hell and was an absolute bitch to wash off, but it did the job. My date arrived when he said he would. We hit it off at dinner, and we ended up back at my apartment, where we both managed to achieve orgasm despite being so full from our meals that we were like 2 beached whales slapping against one another. Since we both had to get up early the next morning, we said our goodnights and he went home. The itching woke me up before dawn. It started with my armpits, but then moved to my, if I may use the medical terms, box and asshole. I got out of bed and went into the bathroom. The mirror confirmed my assumption, that damn allergic reaction again. Welts were forming in extremely sensitive areas, and it looked like I was already getting a bunch of ingrown hairs. I braced myself and doused the affected area in rubbing alcohol, hoping none of the ingrowns would get infected. I showered and scrubbed, then went back to bed. I still itched. When I got up to shower, the swelling looked pretty nasty, and the ingrowns, despite my best efforts, were starting to get whiteheads. I got up and left for work. I sat in my cubicle feeling utterly miserable. The itching was way worse than any of the reactions I'd had before. When I got up to use the bathroom, I checked the damage. I almost threw up. A nearly perfect triangle of densely clustered whiteheads occupied the entire area I'd waxed. Even worse, and this is going to be gross, but there's no real way to talk around it, they'd been popping the whole time I was sitting at my desk. My underwear was soaked. After cleaning myself up the best I could, I talked to my boss and told her I needed to leave early. She said it was no problem, so I left and headed straight to the walk-in clinic. I lucked out and got seen right away. The doctor raised her eyebrows to the ceiling when she saw the reaction I was having, but quickly reassured me that she sees people who get skin irritation from hair removal all the time. She gave me some kind of ointment to rub on it twice a day and said if it didn't improve in a week, she'd give me something stronger. I canceled the date I had with a nice guy from the other night. I felt pretty bad, but he was understanding. He said that he had to go on a business trip the next day and would be gone for a week. I told him that I looked forward to his return, assuming a week from then I'd be in the clear. Spoiler, I wasn't. I applied the ointment diligently for a few days and most of the whiteheads stopped appearing. The swelling, though, persisted. Same with the itching. My armpits weren't particularly bad, but my, perineum and the surrounding area was a disaster area. It was super swollen and it hurt to walk and use the bathroom. The other night, 6 days after I'd seen the doctor, the itching turned to flat-out pain. It wasn't unbearable, and if it had been, I would have gone to the emergency room right away, but it was enough to keep me tossing and turning in bed. The clinic started seeing patients at 6 a.m., and I was planning to be the first person there when the doors opened. As the night dragged on, I felt steadily intensifying pressure on the affected area. It got bad. I scratched through my pajamas and felt small pops under my fingernails. When I pulled my hand away, my fingers were wet. I gagged. Off to the shower I went. Because I like you guys, I'm not going to be as graphic as I could be. However, I can assure you this will be extraordinarily unpleasant to hear. Before I jumped in the shower, I used my phone to take a quick picture of my perineal area. No, I won't share it with you, but my God, I wish I hadn't seen it. The small whiteheads in the area had clustered into a few very large ones. They bulged out of my skin almost half an inch, and I knew right away that they were the cause of the pressure I was feeling. I deleted the picture, got in the shower, and squeezed the biggest one as hard as I could. Its contents splattered on the floor of the bathtub like a pasty spitball. I watched as the water washed away the gooey parts. I bent down to look at what remained, screamed at the top of my lungs, threw on my clothes, and drove myself to the hospital. Don't worry, I'm going to be fine. I got to speak to a lot of specialists, though. Lots of smart doctors whose curiosity was obvious. They kept me there for a few hours, cleaned up my crotch and armpits pretty thoroughly. Then I was discharged with a bunch of medications and tasked to share a bit of hard-learned advice. So here it is. Always make sure the skin you're about to remove hair from is clean. Be mindful of the sharpness of your razor when shaving, and if waxing, do your best to avoid any chemicals you might be sensitive to. Stay away from depilatory products that haven't been evaluated by the FDA. This includes, but is not limited to, creams, lasers, and waxes. Further, homemade depilatory products are discouraged. That was my mistake. Well, one of two. No one should ever use fly paper for hair removal, especially fly paper that's not right out of the box. This is because no matter how clean it looks, or how meticulously you pick the flies out of their sticky confines, they may leave pieces behind. In my case, those pieces were eggs. Hello, Frightmare fans. Josh and I are so happy and grateful to have you as our first 60 subscribers on this young channel. As we add new videos, we try to spread the word about Grimm Scary Tales so as many horror and paranormal fans can enjoy the stories as possible. That said, we've decided to post our next story the day that we reach 85 subscribers. You guys actually have the power to set this date sooner than later by posting any of our videos on Facebook or Twitter or your Tumblr blog, or even messaging or emailing your favorite story to a friend who might like it. We can't wait to upload the next story to your inbox. Just spread the word.